Welcome back to Inspiring Possibilities, the courage to jump in. I'm Michele Coulter, Olympic gold medalist, mom of four, and someone who truly believes we don't have to have it all figured out. We just have to be willing to take that next step. Because more than anything, this podcast is about real stories of courage, growth, and what it actually looks like to move forward when life doesn't go as planned. And today's conversation is exactly that. I'm joined by Michele Parker, a woman who has walked through profound loss, stepped into leadership in the most unexpected way, and is now helping others turn their life experience into purpose, impact, and even income. This conversation is about grief, identity, imposter syndrome, and what it really means to move into the next chapter of your life. So let's jump in. Well, welcome. I'm excited to welcome my new friend, Michele Parker. We've gotten to know each other a little bit over the last while. And yeah, I'm so excited to have you on here on Inspiring Possibilities, the courage to jump in. You have an amazing story, and I know that I've got to hear little glimpses of it. So I'm going to share a little bit of Michelle's background. So Michele helps hard-won wisdom into income. Okay, I'm super curious about that. That's so good. By applying strategic principles to life's biggest challenges. For 34 years, she's had the front row seat to high stakes decisions as an executive assistant, church co-founder and pastor, and owner operator of a seniors assisted living. Oh, I definitely want to talk about that. Experiences that have forged her into a wisdom collector and transformation specialist grounded in real world leadership. So welcome, Michele. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. That makes me sound so good, Michele. I'm telling you. So
What
hopefully
you
I'll live
are.
up to the live up to
Yeah.
the bio.
And the thing that's so wonderful about what I get to do is sharing stories of inspiration and courage because we all have so many different chapters of which Michelle's in. By the time you hear this, it might even be released. Michele has a new book coming out, which I'm excited to talk about. Um, and it's really telling the real stories of our journey and the challenging times that we've gone through to get there. So I'd love to rewind a little bit and for you to share what has gotten you to where you are now? And so that's a big question, a loaded question. What share a bit of your journey to get where you are now and be passionate about what
Sure.
you're doing now.
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, the big turning point was the day my husband passed away. And that was in December of 21. And I really wouldn't be, I don't think I'd be on any of these podcasts. I wouldn't be writing the book. I wouldn't be doing a lot of things. I would still be co pastoring a church. I would probably still be an executive assistant. I would probably still be the administrator of a senior assisted living home. But after he passed away, I took over the church as a senior pastor. I did that for 2.5 years. I continued with the senior assisted living home and working full time as an executive assistant. So I was busier as a widow than I
Mm,
was prior to that. And one day I woke up and realized something had to change, mostly because there are not enough hours in the day. But
mm,
then also I looked at my bank account, Michele, and the numbers were just not adding up. With as many hours as I was working, the numbers weren't just there, they were just not there. And I realized that working for someone else was no longer working for me.
mm.
And so I started scouring the internet and I came across a group of entrepreneurs that were doing things a little bit differently. And you know, some of those people happened to
Yeah.
connect with the Wilders. I did, and started in on their program and realized I needed to look at what was in my hand, the skills that I have, the land that I own, which is another part of my story, the property that I own, which is another part of my story, and say to myself, what can I do with this? How can I make income with this? And then I think, service and ministry is always going to be a part of my life. So, how can I help other people do the same thing once I succeed? And that's
Hmm.
pretty much where I'm at today.
So good. Well, I want to rewind even a little bit more of what got you into ministry and then the
Mm,
senior assisted living, because it, I mean, we are seeing so much right now, the aging demographics and just not the support that we need for
mm.
our, seniors having
Oh, yeah.
there's so much needed. And everyone, I think the foundation, everyone wanting to be seen and heard and know that they matter. Like, so the
Hmm.
foundation of everything that you've done is for sure a catalyst for whatever the next chapters are.
Hmm.
I'm just super curious of what got you like down that path, first of all.
Well, it's interesting because, like you, my story is very connected with my mom.
Mm,
And when I was a little girl, my thought was, I want to grow up and be just like my mom. And she was a CNA, then she was a unit clerk, and then she went back at 50 to become an RN.
wow.
And she worked in the old time assisted livings. So the Catholic homes that were actually schools made into assisted livings, nursing homes, basically. And when we were little, there wasn't daycare because we're talking how many decades ago. So she
Mm,
would take us to work when she didn't have a babysitter. And I
wow.
would I would paint the ladies' nails, I would comb their hair. So my story starts probably when I was 5 or 6 years old in those old nursing homes. And then my grandma moved in with us when I was 14 or 16 and lived with us throughout for the rest of her life, basically. And she died at 96 in
Wow.
her own bed at home.
Oh,
So
wow.
I've had this love for seniors and a respect for them. And I just feel like they just so enhance our lives when we have this multi-generational family and family home. And so then I was in high school. We were asked what kind of outreach we had to go out and do some kind of community service,
Hmm.
which I hear today is unusual. They don't have you do that. So,
Which is
and
a
I chose,
shame. It's a
it
shame.
is a shame. It
Yeah,
is a shame because you get more out of it than you're giving. And that's the
totally.
way it always is.
I think we
So
need
I
to spark
chose,
that. We're going to spark the initiative to really start like
yes.
that again. My kids have their very, very much part of their life is doing that and
Oh, that's
just
wonderful.
well-rounded, like just really. And it doesn't really take that much to make a difference.
No,
Like you said, we end up getting so much more back, but it's like
yes.
understanding and seeing people in different places and where they are and letting go of any preconceived ideas because, everyone's human at heart. And
Oh,
so being able to
exactly.
connect in a beautiful way, I think, especially for our younger generation, well, everybody, it's just so powerful
Yeah,
and so meaningful. So, yeah, so
it
cool.
is.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh,
cut you up there, but I think it's so big.
so then in high school, I chose the assisted living. So the local assisted living, which was only a couple of blocks from my high school. And I volunteered there throughout high school. And then fast forward to meeting my husband, he was already in ministry. In 1992, we decided that we would break off with the blessing of the church we were in and start a Bible study, which then turned into a church. And I was in charge of the children. I was in charge of volunteering. And of course, our outreach choice was assisted living.
Aw.
So in 2001, I had our youth group, doing the bingo, and we did Christmas services and we did Sunday services. I've been so involved in senior living since I was little.
Hmm.
And so then when my husband started to decline, I thought I might need to put him somewhere. I might need more help with him than I can handle at home. And I was not going to put him in a facility. I just wasn't going to do it.
May I ask, he was declining from, did he?
He had he had he was having strokes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a little bit older than me, and he had his first stroke in 2009,
Wow.
where he lost his all of his speech, couldn't walk, all of that, came back completely. And
Wow.
then in 2014, he had an unexpected open heart surgery, which a few months later we found out failed.
Oh,
And then in 2020, he had another stroke. In 2021, he had a final stroke.
oh.
And I realized that, he would fall at home and I wouldn't be able to get him up. If my brother hadn't been here helping us, I would have been in real trouble. So a business partner and I decided because he wanted to find a place for his mom, that we'd go in and we buy a senior assisted living home, which we did. And
Oh,
then we had that for 2.5 years. And really, the reason we sold it was twofold, but the main reason was with Don gone, my big why was gone.
mm,
And then my business partner's mom had already bypassed our level of care.
mm,
And so his big why was gone.
mm.
And so we sold that in January of 25.
Wow. And
Yeah.
what a gift to have started that. And then now someone who that is their calling to be able
Mm-hmm.
to create a loving place for, like
Yeah.
you said, not just being in a facility, but I can only imagine the space
Exactly.
that was created there.
Mm-hmm.
And can so identify in the way of like when my dad started to go downhill, my mom wanted to keep him at home. And it was
Mm-hmm.
just such a gift to have, but it was very challenging organizing the people coming in and all those sort of things, but just having as much time in as positive of a space that you can be in is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
good.
so important. And you learn to love. I just loved those residents. And then the whole transition period to have to find them new homes because we thought the house was going to close because it wasn't selling. It was on the market, but it wasn't selling.
Oh,
And so we found those residents new homes, but you fall in love with them.
yeah,
I mean,
100%.
you just they
Yeah,
become your family.
yeah.
So yeah.
So then from there, and then now you've dove in, and I'm wondering if we maybe we'll dive into what you're doing now and your book because we were playing with where you want it to focus because you have
Mm-hmm.
so much knowledge and gifts that you want to be able to share to help people through. So share a little bit more about that.
Mm-hmm. That really has been a challenge. So thank you for bringing that up. And that's one of the things that I try to help people with is all of these folks who have, well, like yourself as well, we have all these decades of experience and we don't even realize the wisdom we've been accumulating, the skills we've been accumulating, and then we leave the marketplace. And I don't know about you, but I'm not looking for retirement. I'm looking for refocus.
Yeah. Oh, I like that word. I always say retirement's like a swear word. No one really retires. I always call it next chapter. What's your next
Mm.
chapter? Because we get a ton of next chapters, right?
Yes,
And we can
right.
decide how long each chapter is. And I love that refocus.
Mm.
I love that. Yeah.
Ooh, and I like we can decide how long each chapter is. I have
Yes.
not heard that before. I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking to refocus. So I've got a couple of things going, and one of them was really looking at what did I bring out of corporate? What did I bring out of ministry? What did I bring out of the assisted living that I could now take into the marketplace? And
Hmm.
really, what I do now is I help people like me identify the type of wisdom they carry. And it could be system wisdom, it could be survival wisdom, it could be transformational wisdom. And I found when I've been doing my research that the market really pays premium for 5 different types of wisdom. And those are 3 of them. And so, what I
Hmm.
try to do is help people identify what type of wisdom do you have? Who is your ideal client? Who do you want to serve? Where is your heart
Hmm.
at? And
That's
then
so
how do
big.
we, yeah. And then because you're not going to stay long term in this if your heart's not in it, let's face it.
Hmm.
And then how do we position you to take this to the market?
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Sorry, it just popped into my mind right now when you're saying what wisdom, and we were talking about, next chapters and refocusing. And there's actually a TEDx talk, and I'll put it in here somewhere. A gentleman talks about the retirement, the next chapter, and the phases that you go through. Like the
Mm-hmm.
first bit is like, yay, I'm gonna like hang out on the beach and blah blah blah, and then it's like, okay, that didn't last very long. I'm kind of bored, and finding something,
Mm-hmm.
and then that kind of lost almost depression. I hate using that
Mm-hmm.
word state where it's like, what am I supposed like? Uh, that was my identity. Now, who am I to
Right.
be? And then going from now finding that new purpose or refocus and creating a new community around that because the community is also a really
Mm-hmm.
huge part of it. Like being in a community that's like-minded or wanting to do things. And what he did was like people took the different gifts that they had from other hobbies and then started teaching
Mm-hmm.
each other. So they have this massive
Yes.
community of teaching all
Wow.
these great things. The other thing that made me think of too is my mom ended up she started her last company at 75 and she ended up winning an award. We have something called the top 7 over 70 in our city, which I think really I want to help take that across the country in North America because it's brilliant. And it's people who have started new companies or organizations or whatever it is after
Hmm.
70 years old. So, you
I
have the
love
top
that.
40 over 40, you have the top whatever. And
Hmm.
it's so beautiful because, and they sell out at this event like in minutes, like 800
Wow.
people. Like, and it's because the stories are, you get to a place where it's like what you were saying, like when you're driven by your passion and your heart and what it is that you want to do, and you kind of let go at a
Hmm.
certain age of judgment about what people are going to think, which
Hmm.
is beautiful. And
It
so,
is beautiful.
yeah, so it's like hearing the stories, it's like the
Hmm.
most inspiring kind of, I don't care what anybody thinks that they've got this passion. It's like, I'm not going to not ride my bike anymore, sort of thing. Like you stop doing the things, everything else kind of, we don't act old, right? Like just keep
Right.
going. And it's so
Right.
inspiring. So I love what you're doing. So it's like, what is those next chapters? What is that refocus? What are the gifts that you've acquired over all the
Hmm.
previous chapters and all the different things that you've done on the journey? So what is one of the biggest things that you find with people when you go through this process with them?
The biggest thing is imposter syndrome.
Ah, wow.
It's just that, what do I have to offer? Who am I? And I would say that it could be that folks like me, we're great number twos. I call them number twos. We were the executive assistant until I took over from my husband as the pastor. I was the co-pastor. I was
Mm,
always, at home, I was the number two. We were partners, but there's certain things he did, there's certain things I did. Even at the assisted living, even though I was an owner and an operator, I was also a worker bee. So
mm,
I'm a great number two. And
mm,
so, how do I come in now and position myself as a number one? How do I go from, as an example, the executive assistant to the CEO of my
mm.
own life, of my own company?
Oh,
And
I
so I
love that
get,
you said that first, of my own life, of my own company,
mm-hmm,
because that's
mm-hmm,
that is really such an identity shift with self first to get to that
absolutely,
place, right?
absolutely. And that's where, a lot of my coaches have wanted me to focus specifically on widows, and I do focus on widows, but this goes beyond widowhood. Now,
Mm,
I had to learn how to become the CEO of my own life after my husband passed, of my home, of my finances. Of
mhm.
We own a little bit of agricultural land, so I'm creating a farm, legacy farm on here, and I
Oh,
want to do some agritourism, and then the business, and eventually there will be ministry involved. I know I will always be in some form of ministry. I'd like to do some speaking, writing the book. So yeah, I want to help people look at these different aspects and say, and here's the thing, maybe you don't want to write a book. Maybe what you want to do is become the CEO of your life so you can travel the world. You know
mhm,
what? That's okay. Maybe you want to do it so you can volunteer. You don't care to have a business, and that's okay too. But
mhm,
maybe you want to have a business so that you can make more to give more. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons to
mhm.
have a business and to take the lead. But getting past that imposter syndrome is a big deal.
That's so big. It's interesting. I talk about that on my TEDx, which is
Mm.
about letting go of perfection. And
Oh, that was so good. I listened to it. It was
oh,
so good.
oh, thank you.
So good.
Yeah, thank you. And even doing that of like, okay, what is the message that I really want to
Mm-hmm.
share that's so important? And it is letting go of that perfection and
Mm-hmm.
expectations and the imposter syndrome. And what I learned too is that 80% of high achiever, especially women, have
Mm.
imposter syndrome.
I
So
believe it.
I think right now, even just saying, okay, so it's a thing. Now, how do you move through it? Like it's just part of, you know, to think that there's something wrong to have that. Like I've been on panels of CEOs, like women leader CEOs, and every one of them feel like that. Here's the
Mm-hmm.
truth is that whenever we're doing something new, it's going to feel like that. That's just normal. It's just like, okay, I'm just learning. And
Mm-hmm.
there's like, again, to try and dispel that in the way of going, it's okay to feel that. It's like learning to ride a bike again in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
That is so good.
Yeah.
That is, I have not heard anyone else say that yet. I'm going to steal that, Michelle.
Please
It,
do.
it's normal.
It's
You're
normal.
learning something new.
Yeah. I remember when I
Wow.
finished swimming, people think, oh, you're the best in the world. You should be able to do all these other things. I'm like, oh, the expectations that I put on myself was,
Mm.
um, it was it's not staggering. It's like it held me down thinking
Wow.
that, oh, I should be good at this. I should be able to do this. The
Mhm.
expectations I put on myself as opposed to,
Mhm.
hey, this is brand new. What if we went back to feeling like a little kid again when you're learning something new? And that's why I talk about on my TEDx about having the
Yeah.
fun part. Like
Oh, yes.
like when we make it more fun, like
Hmm.
what if we let go of it having to be so serious and having all of our
Hmm.
shizzle together? And now we get to play in the next chapters, right? We get
Hmm.
to play. So that will also, I believe, diffuse that
Wow.
imposter syndrome part when
Hmm.
we let go of the expectations and the ones we
Hmm.
think that other people have on us. Because if someone's excelled, like as a CEO, as a leader
Hmm.
in different areas, it's going to take a while to learn how to do something different,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
So,
And the thing that I like to tell people too is that the thing I realized, and it took me a while to realize it, is what I was learning in my corporate position. I was taking those principles and using them in ministry. And I
mm,
found that the same things that were fixing broken companies were fixing broken families, broken
wow.
marriages. The same things that were working in the financial end in the business was working in the financial end in the families. And so,
So
what I
good.
try to share with people is wisdom, they're just principles and they're transferable across every aspect of life. So, let's look at what you have. Let's fill in the gaps. Like I had to learn AI. I had to
Mm,
learn how to write a book, so we're having fun in those classes and we're learning.
yeah.
And it's so interesting because to put into action what you just said about it's new, this is normal.
Mhm,
I'm not feeling that I have imposter syndrome in any of the other classes we're in
mhm.
because it's new.
Yeah.
There's no expectation.
Yeah.
I didn't know it before.
Yeah. So good.
So, Michelle with 1L, give yourself a break.
Yes, and high five. And that's why that celebration part is so good. It's like, and we talk about courage because when it's new, it's scary. And but
It is.
being fearful and excited are the same
Mhm.
vibration.
I
So if
love
we
that.
just flip the way we look at it, it's like
Yeah.
scary and exciting. Like
Yes.
scary and alive and exciting, right? So it's just like,
Exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
I love that. What are when you say that, like some of the principles from achieving in other areas that transfer over to other areas.
Hmm.
Like I totally agree. And sometimes we can't
Hmm.
see it because we're in it.
Right.
So you help people see that. What are some of the top things, the transferable skills or principles that you see?
Oh gosh. I would say the first thing that I see is is exactly what we were just talking about, giving yourself a break.
Mm,
So when we're in the corporate world as an example, so if I'm bringing somebody new into the corporate world, I'm either bringing them in as a CEO or whatever position they have. I'm bringing them in incrementally. I'm bringing them in baby steps. I'm bringing them in with a system.
mm,
I'm bringing them into a format. And I guess the very first thing I would say is people need to see that. They need to see that you just don't you didn't go into synchronized swimming without a system, without a
yeah.
format. You would have been just flailing around in the water,
Yeah.
you know. So they gave you a system, they gave you a format, they gave you uh,
Foundational pieces.
foundational pieces.
Yeah.
They probably have, what do they call that when they choreograph it
Hmm.
for you. So what we do is we take really the principle of choreographing your next step,
Oh, I
whether
love
that be taking care of your finances, whether that be getting out of debt, whether that be learning new skills. So really, I think that's the biggest thing is showing people you can't just walk. Well, you can. You shouldn't just walk into something and think you're going to wing it.
yeah.
You need to go in with a system. You need to go in with a plan. My husband always used to say, We do not plan to fail. We just fail to plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we
So,
find ourselves in a mess.
well, and yeah, and there is winging it moments. Those just might not be sustainable. So,
There you go. There you go. Yeah. You may go viral once if you
yeah,
wing it, but I don't
yeah.
know that you'll sustain it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think there's a beautiful, and maybe it's not winging it. So having a system and having flexibility within that system too, like having
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, this is
Mm-hmm.
kind of it, because then that creativity, all the other things, but kind of know this is the path. This is like
Mm-hmm.
shortens the time to get there.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
I talk about sink, swim, and float. Like when something's new, it's easy to sink. When we're tight and we're not breathing, we'll sink to the bottom of the pool. Swim, you
Mm-hmm.
start to get momentum, and you could thrash across the pool, or you could ask for help because someone can see it better than you can and how to
Mm-hmm.
streamline a little bit to get
Yes,
there.
exactly.
And then the float part is really, when we slow down because we can't go rocket speed the whole time or you're going to burn out. When you float,
Mm-hmm.
you see things from different perspectives and then you get to actually enjoy it too. So,
Mm-hmm.
and having that like a blueprint or structure to kind of go, okay, I'm still on
Mm-hmm.
the path and it's, it might not be perfectly straight and that's okay because that's part of the fun of it
Yeah.
too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing is just staying in it. So, doing
Yes.
all those things so you can stay in it for the long haul. Because let's face it, we don't usually see the return in the short term. We see the
Yes.
return in the long term. And we
Mhm.
look back suddenly, we look back and go, wow, I did it.
Yeah.
I'm an overnight success 10 years later.
Yes, exactly.
Overnight.
That's why that celebrating as you go too is so important
Mm.
and
Mm-hmm.
enjoying it because it truly isn't like to what you were saying at the very beginning, finding that new passion, that joy. What is it
Yeah.
that gets you going? Like tapping into that and realizing how
Mm-hmm.
much you actually have there already to weave into what you're doing next. Um,
Yeah.
super, super powerful. So good, Michelle. So what are you most excited about ahead?
You know, I guess I'm a servant at heart. I'm really excited about helping people. I'm really excited about people finding finding my path,
Mhm.
continuing on this journey and bringing other people in
So
and
good.
really building. I know this can be controversial, but almost building an army of people that are ready to stand up and say, you know what? Life is going to be different for us. And then we're going to be the example that life can be different for other people
So good.
and life can be good.
So good. Giving them hope, a possibility, and
Exactly.
and maybe when you said something in reference to the word army, it's like having a community that are
Exactly.
moving together in a fun way.
Mhm.
Not as strict
In
as
a
a
fun way. That's right. In a fun way.
in a fun way. So your book, what is the title of your book, Michelle?
So the title of my book is um, your greatest loss. Let me think about it because I had a couple, but we landed on what if your greatest loss has become your greatest strength?
Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
anybody that's going through some sort of
Hmm.
transition or change or whatever it is, like
Yeah.
because I know you were talking about doing a lot of work with widows and it's
Hmm.
that is a huge part of your heart and it's
Hmm.
even more than that. Anyone going through loss of whether it's a
Hmm.
job or whatever it is that then helping them
Hmm.
to the
Exactly.
next chapters and that could be
Hmm.
their greatest gift, like
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or
Exactly.
my mom used to always say something good comes out of everything, and there's
Hmm.
always a way. So,
Yeah. I
be,
agree with mom.
yeah, and being around people that hold you up through that journey is huge.
Hmm.
So good. So,
Exactly.
book coming out soon. It might even be by the time this is up. So, I'll have all of Michelle's information on here for everyone who's listening. I always love
Wonderful.
asking this question. What would you tell your 12-year-old self?
Mm. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Just so when I was 12, as a matter of fact, it's interesting that you would choose that age. I life was very difficult, not in my family, but I had a very profound lisp. and I
Mm,
stopped talking in public at a certain point, and
wow.
I was quite overweight. So I'm still working on that. But I went to speech therapy, and of course, children are children. And
Hmm.
so at 12, it was a challenging time to be at school. It was a challenging time to have to leave the house to go to school. Um, and I wasn't a great student because I think I just liked having fun.
Mm,
So between all of those things, between 12 and 21, actually, that was a pretty big span of time. Life was a challenge. So I think
mm,
I would just tell her, you know what, just keep going. I would tell her what my mom told me. If people don't like you, which I thought they didn't like me, that's not what it was. If people don't like you, it's because they don't know you.
mm,
You are perfect. She would always tell us, Michelle, we were perfect. And what her message to us was not that we would never make a mistake, but that anything that we would do, we could do. She would always tell me, you don't ever have to, you don't ever have to be concerned about being as good as a man because you're better. She didn't really mean it that way, but that is what she said. You are equal. That was a shocker when I
mm,
left our home to go into public school. One of the first things I remember thinking to myself, Michelle, was, wait a minute, how come the boys can do that and we can't do that? Because
mm,
at home we were equal.
mm,
And that's how I grew up. And so when I went out into the world and it seemed to be a boys' world, I went into a tailspin. I was like, what, this is not right.
mm.
But
Wow.
because I didn't have a very good way of communicating because of this profound lisp, that was a challenge as well. So I would tell her, you're perfect. It's going to be okay. Just keep going.
I love it. And thank you for sharing that because I think, you know, the real things that could have held you back. Also, you had to be courageous to keep going
Mm-hmm.
forward and find, like, look at your strength. And now you're speaking all over the place too. That's part of one of your gifts, right? To
It
move
is.
through
Yeah.
that and understand when you understand at a level that you can't, that comes from here and your life
Mm-hmm.
experience and knowing that. So the
Yeah.
other part of that question is, what would your 12-year-old self tell you now looking at you?
Oh, she would say to me, get out there, get out there, be courageous, do it. Don't question, don't hesitate. I know exactly what she'd tell me.
Oh my God, so good. We love her.
I know I do love her.
So good. Any other things that you want to share with everyone before we go?
Oh, no. I would just say if people have not seen your TED Talk, I hope you put it in the link
Okay.
below this podcast. I really think people should watch it and more than once. It's full, 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 full. But, I think I want to just say to you personally, I just am so happy to know you, so happy to hear your story and look forward to meeting you in San Diego. And then again, have you on my podcast to hear your story.
So good. Well, Michelle, thank you for being here and thank you for being such a beautiful, bright light. And I'm looking forward to your book coming out, sharing
Thank
it,
you.
and the amount of people that you get to help refocus into the next chapters because they get to be full, fun, amazing, beautiful next chapters.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
thank you for all the gifts you bring with that.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And look forward to seeing you again soon. Well, in real life soon, but we'll see you again soon. We're going to be
Yes.
celebrating those books. Thank you, my
Amen.
friend. Michelle, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story with so much honesty, strength, and heart. Your message that our greatest challenges can become our greatest strength is something so many people need to hear right now. If this episode resonates with you, make sure to check out Michelle's upcoming book, What If Your Greatest Loss Became Your Greatest Strength? And we'll have all of her information in the show notes so you can connect and learn more about her work. And if you're listening and thinking, I know there's more for me, I just don't know what the next step is, I've created something for you. You can download my free guide, the Courage to Jump In Starter Guide. designed to help you reconnect with what matters, let go of what's holding you back, and take the first aligned next step. And if you haven't already watched my TEDx, How to Move from Perfection to Possibility, I'll have the link below as well. It's a powerful next step in this journey. And as always, if this episode inspires you, share it with someone who might need it, because you never know what's possible until you take that next first step.